Phil Felder, captain with the Sparks Fire Department. Today we're going to go over the Arizona Vortex. The Arizona Vortex is a tripod system that is able to be broken down into multiple packs, but it also allows for various different configurations. Today we're going to cover two configurations. We're going to go over the Easel A and we're going to go over the tripod setup for Sparks Fire Department. For this configuration, this is the Easel A setup. This is a directional frame mode of operation. What this allows us to do is to take our hardware and instead of having it go over a sharp edge or having our personnel go over a sharp edge, it allows us to elevate to a higher change of direction. It makes edge transitions a lot easier and also allows for our hardware to not go over a steep edge. When we look at building in the Easel A-frame, you'll notice that our two front A-frame legs are comprised of two outer posts, outer leg pieces, followed by one inner leg piece, and then a raptor claw or raptor foot down at the bottom. Our back leg piece consists of three outer segments, followed by one inner leg piece at the bottom and a raptor foot. These legs can be oriented either 180 degrees, so where your inners are actually placed up at the top. However, when you go to make final adjustments to account for terrain issues or any kind of obstacle, it's much easier to make these adjustments when your inner pipes are down here at the bottom. You can adjust by removing the pin and making the adjustments versus having to do it overhead if your inner tubes are placed up at the top. When you place your when you're trying to figure out the configuration and best layout, you want to make sure that your head assembly up here at the top is relatively level to horizon, and that's where you want to account for things like a step, some type of pedestal if you're in a warehouse, or if you're outside in backcountry environment. You don't want to have your if you have a rock or any kind of depression in your footing, it allows you to make your foot adjustments based off of the needs. When you finally place your, when you start building this, you always want to work in an area that's safe, away from where you have any fall potential. When you come out and you have your rough assembly already established, you're going to have two people who are going to place your front A-frame legs in an area that's best suited for the environment you're going to be working in. If you are walking out to an edge of high consequence, so if you have a steep fall, like you're working off the edge of a silo, the edge of a roof, or a cliff face, you want to make sure that whoever's placing the legs are on some type of travel restriction or fall protection. The people who come over and establish the feet, before you walk out to the edge, you're going to place this cord right here. This is just a leash that is going to provide some security measure to keep this whole apparatus from going over the edge if something were to slip off for any reason. So you're going to tie this off. You don't have to use any special knot. You can use a carabiner up at the top, or you can use any type of hitch. Once that leash is in place, then you have the two people who are on travel restriction go and place your front feet, and then the person who's monitoring the tether is just going to let the rope pay out. When the people at the front have placed their feet, then the person who's monitoring or tethering the rope, they're just going to back tie this to whatever anchor system you have back behind your assembly. The two front people are then going to orient the feet so that the flat side of the foot is facing inside. You'll notice that there's two sides. There's a flat side and then there's a beveled side. You want to make sure that this flat side is pointed in towards your footprint. So if you notice that it's not quite oriented in the right spot, you can just unpin it, twist your foot, and then repin it. Once your whole assembly is set up, you're going to take the 3 hobble straps, these orange cam straps, and you're going to attach them between the two, or between each segment of the leg, so one on each side. For head attachment, any open spot up here is an attachment point for your hardware. You can attach to any one of these open holes or anywhere around that gold assembly. The head assembly is 2 pieces. If you were going to attach off the gold only, that would be for a different configuration, which we're not really showing at this point. But for these type of operations, all your attachment points are going to be off of this blue head assembly right here. If you are going to be utilizing, if you need the extra space, you have this option over here. If you need to run your ropes higher, so if you have this much play in your system and you want to run higher, you can run your rope over this pulley right here. Just know that if you go to remove this pin and the pulley, that it is loose and it will drop away. So make sure you just have a handle or a hand on this pulley so it doesn't go rolling away from you. If you need to, you can also use this as an attachment point. You can attach your carabiner directly to the pin like such. Just make sure your pin is all the way secured before you make that attachment point. So the Vortex weighs about 72 pounds, the collective kit. Just know that if we're ever requesting it to a scene for any kind of operation, that when we ask for the Vortex, that you need all 3 bags in order to make the entire assembly work. Without any one of those bags, you will not have everything you need to build the system. The rated capacity for this is about 8,100 pounds. To put that in perspective, the minimum breaking strength for rope is about 9,000 pounds. So it is a very solid system. When you grab the Vortex, you'll notice that it comes in these 3 kits. You have the 2 leg bags, and then you have the head assembly bag. Inside each leg bag is a set of feet. The 2 different feet provide 2 different options. So you have the raptor feet, which are more aggressive. Those are going to be useful in your backcountry settings where you're digging into some type of stone. Also really good on metal grading for industrial surfaces. Or you have a flat feet option, which is really good for areas that you're trying to protect, like tile, flooring, sheetrock, or you just need a bigger footprint to kind of disperse the weight and not run into any damage. You want to start by unpackaging the legs first. You're going to, it works really good if you have somebody that set this up a few times. You want to make sure that task delegation is pretty important. You want to, if you have a coordinator, you can assign them to build certain components of the entire assembly. So that way not everybody is building what they think is a leg and come to find out they built too many of the same pieces. So we always start off with the legs first. Go ahead and pull all your pipes out and orient them. Inside each, the whole assembly has 7 outer legs and 3 inner legs. And then to assemble the legs, you're going to look for the pin bag, which is going to be inside the head assembly kit. And it's going to be this orange draw bag right here. And you're going to take these components and then assemble them. So we're going to start off with our A-frame leg first, which is a set of 2 legs. Each leg section is made of 2 outer leg components and then 1 inner. When you assemble these pieces, they'll marry together like such, and then you just rotate it until you find the alignment stud, and then you drop a pin. For our front A leg frames for this scenario, we are going to pin our inner leg to where we have 4 holes showing. And then that'll allow us to install our Raptor foot. And you hand over here. For the Raptor foot, you need to make sure that we talked about the 2 different sides. You have a flat side right here, and then you have a beveled edge here. When we install our Raptor foot, we want to make sure that as it's engaged in touching with the rock, that if our pipe was coming off this way, that it digs into the material like this. If it's the other way around, it's going to want to rock out, and so we just want to make sure that our foot is oriented in that configuration. For now, since we don't know what our rock surface looks like, we're just going to go ahead and install the feet and then make the adjustment later on. So I'm going to repeat this same build to make my other front section. And for my back leg, I'm going to use 3 sections of outer tubes, and then my inner. For the back leg, I want to have it pinned at its longest stretch, and then follow it up with my Raptor foot. At this point, what works best is if you assemble your head pieces independently to each section. So on my front A-frame legs, I'm going to want to pin the 2 blue sections first, and then for my back easel leg, I'm going to pin the orange section. And what that does is allows better joining when you go to put the head assembly together. It just makes it a lot easier rather than trying to fish the pipes through the dedicated holes. Once you have your head assembly, your A-frame assembly together, you can take your A-frame and just position it. And you're going to remove these 2 1/2" pins up at the top. From here, you can assemble the headpiece by dropping that in and then repinning your 1/2" pins. From here, we have pretty much a rough layout of a rough assembly of what we're trying to achieve. Again, we won't really want to mess with the feet until we walk it over to the edge. So at this point, before we walk it over to the edge, we're going to take our leash out of our head assembly bag and we're going to attach it to the headpiece up top. Now, if you find yourself in a spot where trying to work overhead might be out of your reach, you can just simply walk this back leg back and that'll drop the whole assembly to where it's going to be a little easier to reach. So now that the leash is attached, this will go to somebody who's just going to stand back and let the cord out however far we need to carry it as we walk the whole apparatus out to the edge. When we find this final resting spot where it's going to play at over the edge, the person back here monitoring the cord will just tie this off using a simple utility hitch or a knot. When you set this up, you want it to be at about 90 degrees. If you're working on a pitched area or more backcountry, going past 90 degrees is acceptable. You might find yourself in a situation where you might have to run back ties or guy lines to protect the whole apparatus from being overloaded on the bad side of where you're working. As we've come out and determined where our final foot placement wants to be, we're going to take a look at these feet, and we want to make sure that they're oriented more or less pointed towards the inside. So we're good on this one, we're good on the back, but this one we're going to have to make a quick little adjustment. So if I just remove the pin, spin it to where I need, repin it, and that one's oriented in the correct spot. Last but not least, you're going to finish up with placing the hobbles. There's 3 hobbles in the kit, and they're going to be strung between each segment of the legs. So now that we've built the Easel A-frame, we're just going to do a quick little conversion to a tripod. This tripod configuration would allow us access into a manhole cover or mostly an industrial setting. All we're going to do in this case, we've loosened up the hobbles so that way we can convert the legs real quick. I'm going to drop this segment out of the Easel A. I'm going to repin it to the same length as the other two legs. So since we'd be doing this in some type of industrial setting, I'm also going to swap out the feet so that way everyone's familiar with the two different foot styles we have. With the flat foot style, you'll notice that it has this blue horseshoe type. Just know that when you set up the foot on a flat foot, that the blue horseshoe orientation needs to be pointed inside the footprint, allowing the most allowable range of motion. If you have it this configuration, it'll bind up, your feet won't rest quite as flat, and you'll also put a lot of stress on that neck. So I'm going to swap these 3 feet out real quick. And then you're going to resecure your hobbles. When you resecure your hobbles, you want to make sure that you just go put the hook right along the top of the neck here, and then do the same for all 3 pieces all the way around. Once you have your equilateral footprint, you're good to go.